Rev up your engines!
Jay Hudson says, does idling shorten oil life? Yes, it certainly does. Because when you're idling, you get more of a buildup of water in it. Realize when you burn gasoline, which is nothing but carbon and hydrogen in Earth's atmosphere, one of the byproducts is water vapor. That's why you see when you start your car in the morning, you'll often see some water dripping out of your muffler. That's normal. That's a byproduct of burning gasoline in Earth's atmosphere. And when you're just idling, a lot of that water kind of stays inside the engine and oil. But when you're going down a highway 70 miles an hour, it gets hot, the wind's blowing, and it vaporizes all it. So yes, idling lowers the lifespan of your oil. Conversely, if you drive nothing but 70 miles an hour on a highway, you could change your oil every 10,000 miles if you want. It wouldn't hurt anything because it's not worn out and dirty like it would be in stop-and-go traffic where you idle a lot. Wano who says, should I buy an off-rental 2019 Toyota Corolla if a mechanic says it's in good shape? Okay, if it is a good mechanic and he really does his stuff, and I mean really, not just look at it, put in a scan tool and walk away, do a compression test of the engine, do a serious road test, spend at least 2 hours going through that car with a fine-tooth comb to see what kind of shape it's in. Look all over, see if it's been wrecked. A lot of rental cars have been wrecked. And here's the thing about rental cars, a lot of people don't know. Most rental car companies are self-insured. So if it gets in a wreck, there might not be any record of the wreck because they fix their own vehicles. They don't use an insurance company to pay for the repairs. And so they're not going to put a record out that this car was wrecked because they know they're going to sell it when it's not a rental car anymore. So I've had people buy rental cars and I'm, oh man, this thing's been in a big wreck, right? And they didn't tell them because they're self-insured and they fix their own stuff. Keep that in mind. You need a really good mechanic to check it out. Not some guy who just, oh yeah, I'll check it out, plugs in a little scan tool, looks at it for 10 minutes and says, yeah. No, you got to go through it. Gregory Piano, Scotty, I'm thinking of getting a 2018 Subaru Outback with 90,000 miles. Could it potentially need a lot of repairs soon at that mileage? Well, maybe, maybe not. The thing is, the problem with the Subarus are they're a little bit cheaper made. So instead of using a bunch of gaskets on the engine, they use glue, like silicone glue. They're adhesive, but it's fancy. And it works fine until it gets old and cracks and starts leaking oil. A lot of those engines, when they get like 140, 150, they start leaking oil. And in order to fix it, you got to pull the engine out, change it all out, put it back together again because they didn't use gaskets, where a Toyota used gaskets. Gaskets last a lot longer, and then it's a lot easier just taking the top off, putting a gasket in, but that's a boxer engine. So you got 2 cylinders on this, 2 cylinders on that side, on the sides, and to really work on them, you got to take the engine out of the car. It's a completely different design. Now, if a mechanic checks it out and says it's in good shape, and you see it's not leaking oil, be easy to see the oil be dripping down, smelling, you'll have the oil smoking out. If it isn't, it could be a decent car for a while. But it's not something that you can get like a Toyota that you might get 300, 400, 500,000 miles. They're too cheaply made for that. They will not last that long. Carlos Tapia says, Scotty, don't forget my question. My mechanic shop said it's not good to change my transmission oil. You get dirt, friction, have more problems, right? A lot of the manufacturers say now, oh, you don't have to change the fluid in your transmission. It's lifetime fluid, blah, 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 right? So I asked the engineers, what do you mean by lifetime fluid? You know what they say? Well, it's good for the lifetime of the transmission. Okay, what's the lifetime of the transmission? Well, the warranty is 60,000 miles. If I had a car and it broke at 70,000 miles out of warranty because the transmission fluid wasn't changed, I'd be mad as a hornet. You still got to change it. But here's the rub. I don't know your whole history of that car. Let's say you had a Ford Focus and you went 150,000 miles and you never changed the fluid. Then don't change it. Because if you change it, then it might start to slip because it's so dirty. When you put in fresh fluid that's more slippery, it might start slipping. So if you buy a car new and you change the fluid every 40,000 miles or so, you're not going to have any problems at all. If you haven't, that's another story. You do have to change it. I don't care what these people say, because they say, oh, it's good for the lifetime of the transmission. It'd be like somebody saying, oh, yeah, no, we're going to put a special replacement heart in you. How good is it for you? Well, it's good for the rest of your life. Well, how long is the rest of your life? Well, the pump's got a warranty of a year on it. Always keep that in mind. Robert Donnelly says, Scotty, my CT200H has 122,000 miles. I turned it on this morning and started knocking. 2014, any guess what's happening? Okay, here's what you want to pray. You want to pray that it's got like a bad ignition coil or something, and that's what's making it knock. Have a mechanic look at it immediately. Don't really drive it very far. Make sure you're full of oil. If you're out of oil, it's going to knock too, right? You want to pray that it's like a bad ignition coil and not that the engine's knocking because the rod bearings are going out. I don't know if you bought it new or used. You gotta religiously change the oil every 5,000 miles with full synthetic oil and full synthetic oil filter to keep the engine going. Normally, those things last a really long time, right? Now, let's say you bought it used and you have no idea what the previous owner did. And a lot of previous owners, especially if it was a lease car and then you bought it off lease, people who lease cars, they don't maintain them. They don't care. It's like, it's not my car. I don't care what happens. It's running good enough. I've seen people lease cars, they didn't change the oil for 25,000 miles. And being a car like that, it would still generally have oil in it because they're so well made. But then it'd be all dirty and it's wearing the inside of the engine. Pray that's not your case. Pray maybe an ignition coil is bad. Least worst case, it's low on oil, put some more oil in it, then change the oil filter and watch it closely. Pray it hasn't damaged the engine, because if it has, it costs a fortune to rebuild those engines. Cal170 says, Scotty, I purchased the 2020 Corolla, 15,000 miles. Now it has 26,000. Thinking about changing the tranny oil at 30. Is that too early or should I wait? Go right ahead, because that's got to be a CVT transmission. Even with Toyotas, you want to baby a CVT transmission. Toyota does make the best CVT transmissions in the world, but they're not as bulletproof as the old. Before that, they had 4-speed automatics in those Corollas, and those suckers would just run forever. I'd seen with 500,000 miles, and they've never even been touched, the trannies, and they still shift. I would change it every 30,000 miles. Make sure you get the Toyota fluid. Watch my videos. Learn how to do it yourself. It's not that hard to do. You just got to buy one special tool that's a long Allen socket that fits in. Once you take the cap off, a little comes out, then you stick that in, and you take the inner plug out, and then it drips out, and then you pump it back in. If you want to do it yourself. If you don't, get a mechanic to do it. Make sure they use the Toyota oil. Mark Miller says, Scotty, I drove a 95 GMC Jimmy with 133,000 on the SUV. With that low mileage, should the engine be in good shape? Should be. If that's the real mileage, of course, it's a 95. Do you know the total history of it? We don't know. When they're that old, all bets are off. If you want to know if it's in good shape, go to a guy like me. If you're near Clarksville, Tennessee, feel free to set up an appointment with me. I check them out free Monday through Fridays in the mornings, right? And I tell you what kind of shape it's in. You never know. When they're that old, you have no idea what the history of what engine or what transmission's even in it anymore. You never know. But if it's all original, it certainly should be. Joel Stevens says, your knowledge and opinion of Subaru SUVs with CVT trannies over 180,000 and 250,000 miles. Have you seen them go that far? No, I've never seen one go 250,000 miles. I had a customer had one that had like 140 and it was starting to go out, and he decided, I'll get rid of it and I'll get a Toyota next time. I'd never seen one go 250,000 miles. The weakest points of Subarus throughout history has been their automatic transmissions. I would definitely not want to buy one with high mileage that was a CVT transmission. I just would. Jeff456 at gmail.com says, I got an 06 Highlander with a 2.4 liter engine, 4-cylinder engine. And I know they have oil consumption issues. How can I know if it's fixed or not by the dealer? I'm going off to college. I don't want to have a problem. What you got to do, and it's not that hard, you can just get the VIN number and call up car dealer and say, could you look up the history of this car? Has the engine been fixed? Have they rebuilt it or replaced it or changed out the piston rings? If they did, personally, I don't believe what anybody says, but at least if they did, you'd have an idea that it could have been done. Then, irregardless of anything else, what you would do would be, it's a 4-banger, right? Take out all 4 spark plugs and look at it. If they're covered with burnt carbon, you know it's burning oil, and don't buy it. Ajit says, thoughts on New York versus California? I wouldn't live in either of them. They're both actually beautiful states to visit. I grew up in Niagara Falls. Hudson River is beautiful. The Adirondack Mountains in California. I'm going to Mendocino in a month and a half. It's beautiful out there. I'm going to the Redwood Forest north of San Francisco. You know, I mean, it's beautiful out there. But they tax people until they can't take it anymore. And that's why people are leaving California and New York. They're taxing people up the wazoo. Beautiful places, but they're going to chase everyone away. They have unfriendly business practices. I mean, look at Tesla. They moved their headquarters from Fremont, California to Austin, Texas. And you want to pay all the taxes? They're just over they went. And they're going to chase away people. Don't want to work and then get stuff. And then what are they going to do? They're going to entice people that don't work to come there. I just read a thing where New York City is giving credit card vouchers for illegal immigrants, and they're giving millions of dollars out that way. I mean, hey, they're going to end up with a bunch of people that are sucking on the government, and nobody's going to be putting in it because the smart people are going to run away and not come back. Danielle DeLuca says, Scotty, what do you think about a mechanic who worked on my car, replaced the wrong engine parts, wanted to be paid even though he didn't fix it? What's the right thing to do? If he's going to be a swine and he won't give you your car back, hire a lawyer. In any state, if they're doing that kind of work on an engine, they have to give you a written estimate, right, of what they're doing, and it's going to fix the car. And if they didn't fix the car, you don't owe them anything. That's just the way that it goes. They were wrong. Their professional judgment was incorrect. Most honest mechanics, they're going to say, well, let me look at it again and see what's going on. But if the guy didn't fix it and he wants money for it, hey, you're going to have to get a lawyer. And hope the guy has a real business, because if he doesn't, you're not going to get anywhere. A lot of guys fix cars and they don't have a business. You look in Better Business Bureau, whatever you see, they're not even registered as a business or something. But if he's registered as a business, you get a lawyer involved. They'll generally either give you your money back or fix a stupid thing. And they get that much headache with lawyers, the guy should just give you your money back. Or if you didn't pay him and he's got the car, give you your car back at least. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.